Hello and welcome to the world of Fekal. In this game, this is not my game. This game is called. Let me remember what this game is called. Ages of Conflict. And in this game, called Ages of Conflict, you can create scenarios and worlds and nations and whatnot to more or less battle each other. It has an economy system, and today, I'm going to talk and show off a little bit of the world of Fekal. Mountain, hills, deserts, terrain, water. Deserts, that's tundra? Yep, okay. So, the world of Fekal. It's called Fekal by these people over here. These aren't the names that I have ideally set up. However, these names, I don't have time to name all of them. But in this world of Fekal, humanoids, hominids, started from a region over here. And they spread on beyond this region. This region, Sutki, it's more or less just, it's kind of like Africa in many ways, more ways than once. So, down here we have deserts. Deserts all throughout here. It's like the Sahara, but like really, really, really big. Then you have, just mountains up through here. But deserts, and then around here you have like forest, plains. What is that place? What is that? Sub-Saharan. Sub-Sahara is like throughout here, and like this is the actual sandy desert. You have this lake here. This was really important. You had ancient nations around here. But we're going to be playing in a later year, about the equivalent to 1800s in this world. About maybe like 1400s technologically wise, but about 1800s in this world's years. But technologically wise, it's a bit ranged. There's technically magic in this world. However, the magic is, I wouldn't say underwhelming. It's just not very strong. In the sense that, like, it can be flared by emotions, but it's not going to change a terrible amount. Mages do not have much effect, unfortunately. Let me see. Paint in. There we go. I would like to get rid of this. I've noticed that having too much like waterways is kind of damaging to ocean battles. Is this an important place? No. Why is this island so big? Excuse me. Better. Okay. So yeah, I've run a couple test runs and I've found out that tiny lanes are best for fighting and to simulate what actually happened per se in here, historically speaking, to the lore. But yes, humans came from basically Africa. Came from around this region is where they started their first nations, their first cities. Then they kind of spread out throughout here, went up to here. They went over into... Okay. You have Notski, Sutki, Wesne, Esne. Right. Esne, Wesne, west, east. that type of stuff. But yeah. So they settled up through here, settled all throughout here, settled through here, onto the islands. Let's make sure most of these islands have a kingdom. And when they settled these islands, like this is, we're talking about like ancient, like this is like Egyptian times, and there's an ancient like kingdom that was around here, and there's a couple kingdoms around here because like this place, this region over here, with the giant rivers and stuff. This place is like China. They created dynasties, and most would fall. You know, they would constantly colonize throughout here and down here, but mostly remained central to here. This is jungles and forest. In this time, the jungles have receded a bit, and they do stretch up right to this river. Along here, you have like a subculture, if you will. This one of these nations over here is supposed to be like, what do you call it? Bracer nation, buffer nation, around here. Sometimes it's a puppet. Sometimes, you know, very independent to very dangerous enemy. But we will see. What happens in this world? All of these little kingdoms over here, these are just tribes. It's supposed to be many tribes in here. This is like the Arabian desert, if you will. The Kithical desert. And in the Kithical desert, you have something called the Kithical horde that eventually does come about around this time. And that's why there's only one nation, so they can come and try to grab everything. But as you can see, hills, mountains, deserts, tundra. From what I understand, hills are great for defensive purposes, but they don't earn as much money. Neither do deserts / tundra. Crossings also actually give money to the nations. I know most people don't actually understand the economy of this game, but it becomes kind of important to see who has. I just realized I did not paint this. This is a really important region for fishing. Really important for fishing. That's why they actually have. That's why they make money, from what I understand, is because there's fishing that goes on. I want the rivers to be more or less. You have a crossing right here. These mountains protected an ancient city-state called Angzi, and they're protecting them from basically these barbarians. They are just tribes that are unsettled, and it would go through here. But the purpose of leaving all this blank, there's a blank area that's because a nation or an empire is supposed to fill it, and it's not supposed to have a capital. But yeah, people settled these islands. These islands did eventually revolt and form their own kingdoms and city-states. At first, it was a general, like, combined revolt from all the islands working together. The idea of being an islander, more or less, of being a colonizer and colonist, you should have your own, like, right. You shouldn't have to give the fruits that you found on this island to these people on the mainland. They did not work for it. They did not toil these fruits. They did not climb the cliffs that sometimes needed to be climbed. Or so they claimed that they needed to be climbed. Whether or not they actually had to be climbed is yet to be proven. Anyways, as we have this, we will continue with it. I think I have to click on a nation to do this, yes. Alliance size. We will limit it to about 3. Revolts can happen. Progressive CE. Remove exclaves. Realistically speaking, exclaves would not be something that would happen too much during this time. Let us watch what happens and see who takes what. these Esne Islands each have a king. However, most of them are supposed to serve the main king. So, technically, these are all supposed to be allied to each other. However, there's no way to really ensure that only these guys form an alliance. Not everybody just forms some type of big head hug box. As you can see, this nation is first of all. Looks like these guys right here become very strong. So what happens with this region is it actually gets colonized by all of these, the Esneans. It becomes a giant colony. People get vassalized and people settle from on here. The nation of Wesne. My bad, this is Esne. This is Wesne. The nation of like Esne and the Esnean nobles are actually mostly just merchants. Think like the Italian republics. They're just merchants that go around. They like selling things. They become very wealthy over time. The culture is just mostly about, commerce, trade. Mostly supposed to be peaceful as well. I already have a revolt here. Interesting. So from what I saw, I liked what I saw. So most of the times you do have a nation, one of these, conquering this island and moving on to here, rather than trying to... Jeez Louise, these guys have no combat efficiency. Oh, okay. Yeah, that explains it. Doesn't matter how much money you have, if you have no combat efficiency against somebody that's combat efficiency of 6, you are not going to be able to do anything. So it looks as if the dynasties are doing well. So as you can see, if you have a large amount of fishing lanes, they just kind of fight along it. It doesn't really work to make it just a crossing. It just kind of makes it an extended front. But it also does force people to actually have to use a lot of money. Something that the islands don't have a lot of. That was just a double kill right there. That's pretty funny. Who's the strongest in this region? 238, 600. I think it's just the one with 600. Yeah. So the richest. You have these two nations are basically sister nations. They used to be the same nation, more or less. A nation called Royale. They were religious. Was a really religious nation. Jeez Louise, these guys grew big in this iteration. That's kind of nice to see. This is what the story is supposed to be mainly about. But yeah, you have North Royale and South Royale. So North Royale, their religious scuffle is about who can be saved, who cannot be saved. North Royale went along with the they can be saved, and South Royale went with they cannot be saved. Oh my goodness. They certainly did just crush them. Which actually means the dynasties grow stronger. So it looks like in this iteration North Royale won. But lore-wise speaking, it was a pretty brutal civil war. It meant that they lost a bunch of their colonies against the Kadushavites. Right up here. And they were forced downwards. The peninsula was threatened, and they lost any colonial holding in the islands that they had. because you constantly had nations that, once they grew big enough, would colonize islands once more. However, it was not always very, what's the word? Possible. It wasn't always very possible. And I lost a lot. If you wonder what money is used for, money is used to control soldiers. I don't know if I can view that anymore. But there used to be a map mode where you could view soldiers, and they would show up as like little black dots. And depending on how much money they had and if they were at war or not, there would be either like 3 lines to 4 lines, and they would just like buy soldiers, and you would need gold to have soldiers and gold to maintain soldiers. Of course, after a while, you cannot maintain or buy soldiers. You just have too many. The Kadushavites are living in more or less a Russian area of this universe. They're like more Viking culture, but the area is more like a Russian behavior. With hills, mountains, Arctic terrain, only few, very, very few actual farming places that can actually be arable and, bring crops. Looks like the southern island is more or less winning as of right now. And this revolted, did it not? Interesting. Do we have any emperors? No emperors. Nobody's got the emperor crown. Let's check down here. No. There we go. First Empire, Barhut, might become the second, if they're able to actually get some defeats out. There we go. Let's check the alliance map mode. So these 3 have all allied each other. These 3 have allied each other. Up here, as you can see, the cities they captured, they decided to burn down none of the capitals that I set up before. There was a giant empire that once existed. Well, before this empire, it was a bunch of tiny states around here, but they united the states, and then they conquered all of this land from various different tribes and nobles and kingdoms. All of this land threatened the Kadushavites, threatened the Royales. The empire collapsed. Royalites, obviously, moved in more of the territory. But they made peace with the remnants of the 3 kingdoms. The 3 kingdoms, which were the remnants of the empire. And once they made peace, more or less, complacency, what's it called? They got comfortable. They got very comfortable and decided to argue about the small things, such as who can and cannot be saved, rather than focusing on, what they probably should be, and was surviving. Things in this land are not very easy per se. As I said, there is magic, but the magic is indeed very weak. The dynasties just got crushed from the combined efforts of a random tribe that has formed a great nation. We currently have, I think, only 4 emperors. Emperor in the south, Emperor in Wesne, Asne, Notski. Ooh, we have 2 over here. Sutki. Ah yes, the Tomol Kingdom. Although they're not actually this big of an island, this map, and the way I made it, makes it look larger than the lake itself. However, oh, I just see what happened there. That's unfortunate. Anyways, however, Tomol is actually rather tiny indeed, and it only looks this big because it actually is very fruitful, and it did have a kingdom there that was quite influential for quite some time, and after the early years of history was very isolated from the rest of the world, and had been isolated for about 400 years, I would say, around this time. Typically, these guys would just stay really tiny. But today, they have grown quite big. Something that doesn't actually happen a lot, but has happened here, is that one of these nations has decided to grow big. Over here, the islands have stopped the mainland from actually colonizing, 1, the islands, and 2, into Sutki. Usually somebody from up here is able to just move down into here. But that has not happened. Back here is supposed to be the new kingdom. Down here you have the old kingdom. It's basically like 3 brothers. The younger brother took this one. Eldest brother took this one. This is the middle child. The middle child inherited not very, what you call it? Not very arable land, not very wealthy land either. There's a giant to look at, but we'll behold it later. It wasn't very wealthy, but they were able to get a lot of quality minerals, and through quality minerals is able to actually form a very elegant, very strong elite guard, and just have a very good drilled militia. Proved to be, his idea was that well, obviously, once the empire collapsed, there was a civil war, but the idea was that he was going to conquer his brothers. Everybody just wanted to conquer, except for the new kingdom. The little brother just kind of wanted to chill and party. But the 2 brothers wanted to, attack each other. And even with the very harshly drilled military force and the elegant armor, proved not to be enough to even go against the little brother. Against the little brother, it was more or less luck. Also with the alliance of Fekal mercenaries. Also, the period that struck the empire was, famine, disease. So, considering famine and disease, you're typically not going to be able to field a large military and fielding large military will bring disastrous results, which indeed it did. More or less the major factor that played into him not being able to conquer his brothers, as the other brother, the eldest, had the favor of the people, so he had a large military. The younger brother had rich farmlands, also had a lot of people, but these people weren't trained, and obviously it was a newer part of the kingdom. So mostly what he invested into was building walls, because like I said, he just kind of wanted to party. What nothing to do with the whole Civil War business. He inherited his part of the kingdom, his part of the empire. He liked it, he admonished it. He would take care of it. He did not see any need to conquer the other parts. Of course, just because you want peace does not mean you will get peace. As you can see here, you have a bunch of hills. There's actually a giant mountain range that goes along this line. I didn't feel the need to put up mountains all throughout here. But I did put hills to put where the lower mountains were. Because mountains are impassable, they do not give money. And I felt like that was unfair to this nation over here. Let's go look at the giant nation. Ah, yes, Purple Hold. In this world, Purple Hold. It's actually just a tribe. In lore speaking, but interestingly enough, they have fought their way to victory. And now enjoy a very gracious alliance. Gracious amounts of land. Gracious amounts of gold. Though this is not the biggest that they have been. Interesting. They've lost land somewhere. The nation that is now called Briskin. Right here. Aw. The guys that actually had a chance. Yeah. They're no longer here. These guys, are like a random forest tribe that actually formed a pretty formidable kingdom all throughout here. Whereas these are just tiny tribes, more or less, speckled throughout. The coast, obviously, again being colonized by Esne, the merchants. Oh my goodness. 1, 2, 3 and a half of the main islands. Pretty impressive. Surprised that you don't ally the one guy that's left, but I guess you want to conquer him, so to each his own. This is more or less a playtest, if you will. Just testing to see what. Oh my goodness. Briskfort is running out of money, land, and manpower rather quickly. They are done for. Looks like a bit of chaos has ensued. It's not a revolt they just had. They just crushed. Oh goodness. Briskman getting very confident after getting the Fabled 6. Oh my goodness. The aftermath has seen Neo Tamal risen. My goodness. I don't know what's wrong, but they just can't seem to hold it together. South Stand. The Kaddish fights. Actually, being very scary. Along with these guys. Joe Hill, Josh Hill. They're running out of money incredibly fast. The only hope is that they can actually win this battle in time. So they do gain money incredibly fast as well. Let's fast forward through here. See who can win. Oh, is that 3 revolts? Well, they conquered 1. Wow. Very surprising to see the Katyush fights actually exist in this world. Usually when I play test, they actually get conquered, and they have to revolt out. Even though it's a very defensible position, just not very good for offensive means. So they usually get pushed back just into the mountains to a good defensive line, but then they have to, like, push the enemy out of the defensive line as well, and they just get kind of trapped there. Sometimes they are able to succeed, sometimes they will never succeed. Let's see who's next. There it is. Ah, yes. Oil is dead. Ravenstein is dead. You have Purple Hold. Still kicking strong. Not nearly to the same size as they were. Ooh, did I say kicking strong? I mean, dying. Yeah. As you can see, it just behaves like more land if you do just a crossing. A bit disappointed in that. I was hoping that it wouldn't. Now you have Southington. Now one of the top 10 nations in the world, being a revolt from Purplestone, or Purple. Interestingly enough. A Neo-Tomalian kingdom. What did they do? Oh! That's weird. Stop that. Goodness gracious. Someone is paying a lot of money to try to stay alive. What was that? Uno. The great nation of Uno. Briscala. Now the largest nation on the planet. Second largest nation ever. Still somehow beats out Barhut, which has still not destroyed its neighbor up north. Probably because they're better at fighting. Oh no. Kadush fights are in trouble. Kadushi. Still have not recovered. They're just able to spend a lot of money. They still don't even have that much money compared to some of these. And there they go. So you can see many bad things happen once they hit that 1. Oh, but they both have 6. In that case, it's just about who can replace men. And Barhut has a lot more money. As you can see, they indeed did grow a colony. This is a bit abnormal. They allied a bunch of tiny nations. I can't tell if this is because they're actually concerned for those nations or just because, oh my, Purple Hold has re-risen. Okay. I was not watching for that. Barhut is now the most giant nation ever. Briska is close third. Alright, never mind. Briska just annexed all of Purple Hold just to beat you. Congratulations. Welcome to the pecking order. Oh. I was about to say, I think that's enough for today, but I think the game's decided for me. So, throw it back. Slow down. Slow down. Yes, I think it's time to end this. I'll be posting this map up on Steam along with an older version of it. And with these maps, you can play around with it as you'd like, but I just would like to give some little bit of context to what these maps are, what these nations represent, why things look the way they do. And to that I say, throw a like if you like the video, check out the channel, If you like the channel, consider subscribing. But most importantly, have a great day. And I will see you next time.